Hey everyone, it's Melinda with Tailored and Teal, and welcome back to another What Sold video. These are sales on Poshmark, Mercari, and eBay from August 16th through August 31st of 2024. I actually have a decent amount of sales to report to you, so we're gonna jump on in. I did have one sale on Mercari, finally. It was almost one full month that I didn't have a sale on Mercari. I really should be relisting items over there and I'm just not, so that's partly my fault. Also, the buyers have to pay for the fees, which used to be put on the sellers. So I'm really not sure if that's increasing or decreasing sales. But anyways, let's go over the one sale I did have on Mercari. It was a popover blouse by Loft, and it was part of the Softened collection, and it was a navy blue and white striped blouse. I got this from a random company who was selling mystery boxes, and my cost of goods was a bit higher than what I would pay for a Loft blouse in the thrift store. It was around $5.85. However, this blouse sold for full asking price of $18. There were no fees because, again, the sellers do not have fees to pay. So my profit was $18. And if you're not familiar with my What Sold videos and you're just tuning in for the first time, I go over all of my numbers, including my cost of goods, at the end of the video to give you kind of a net profit total. Moving on to Poshmark, where I had 8 sales. This first one, I am super surprised that it sold on Poshmark. This is definitely not the type of item that I would think would sell there, but hey, I guess anything goes anymore. So it was a vintage Abraham Lincoln Memorial Monument statue, bookend, or figurine. This has been in my family ever since I can remember as a kid. This used to be on my uncle's nightstand. He probably got it when he went to the Abraham Lincoln Memorial, but it was made of not chalkware, but like a plaster of some sort. I couldn't exactly figure out what it was. There was green velvet on the bottom to protect surfaces, but unfortunately there were quite a bit of cracks and paint chipping, but it still sold for $11 with no discount in shipping. So I was happy to pass along something to somebody else. I would have kept it for myself because it was kind of sentimental, but it really just does not go with my decor, and happy to pass it along to somebody else. Next up was a vintage sealed Precious Moments Our Wedding photo album. So this was like a bifold photo album that had slots in it that you could flip back and forth. I used to collect precious moments when I was younger, and this was part of my collection, and it sold for $10 with no discounted shipping. Next up was another free to be item. So this is the third item in a row. This was a lot of vintage magazines. They were January, February, and March of 1945 Ladies' Home Journal magazines. They sold for $22 with no discount in shipping. Then we have a random full price Banana Republic sale. This was a Banana Republic 100% linen flax oatmeal pencil skirt. This thing was in such great condition, and it wasn't like a newer style or anything, but whoever wore it either didn't wear it a lot or kept really good care of it. This also came from that mystery box that I was talking about, the sale of the Loft blouse on Mercari, but it sold for full price of $25 and there was no discounted shipping. So I guess I can't be too mad about that mystery box. It's just, I didn't make as much profit because my cost of goods was a little bit higher than what I'm used to. Next up is a lot of 2 sterling silver hook dangle black glass and faux pearl beaded earrings. I've had these in my inventory for almost 3 years, so I was very happy to accept a $10 offer, and there was no discounted shipping. The next sale was a surprise to me. Number one, that it sold on Mercari, and that number two, they were kind of valuable for just little pins. So if you watched my last jewelry unboxing, I had a whole bag full of Indianapolis 500 pins of drivers and their status, like they've won so many Indianapolis 500s, or it was like 1967 winner. Well, these 4 were all by the same driver. They were AJ Foyt Jr., and he was the winner in 1961, 1964, 1967, and also a 4-time champion pin. That's what the 4th pin said. I don't know if these are rare or there wasn't a lot of AJ Foyt Jr. merchandise made back in the 60s. But I listed these for $40 within a day or two of being listed. I got an offer for $30. I instantly accepted because my cost of goods for all 4 of these pins were 61 cents. So I made a really nice profit and there was no shipping discount. And you will see a few more sales of these pins on eBay when I go over those sales. It was quite surprising that a few of them sold so quickly. And then the last item was a Rebecca Minkoff black leather multi-zipper gold chain crossbody purse. This is like one of her classic most sold purses that she ever made. It had lots of zippers, lots of tassels. It wasn't in the greatest condition. I did try my best to clean it, especially on the inside. So I did accept a $15 offer with no discounted shipping. So of my 8 sales on Poshmark, I had $123 in sales, $27.25 in fees. I gave out no shipping discounts because I am no longer offering shipping discounts unless it's like a more profitable item or a more desirable item or something that I feel like offering that discounted shipping would help sell it. And that gives me a total profit of $95.75. Next up on eBay, I had 21 sales. First up was a pair of khakis by Gap factory slim city blue subtle striped twill Bermuda shorts. These were size 10. These were free to me because they came out of my own closet. They no longer fit me, so I thought I'd pass them along to somebody else, and they sold for $6.60. Next up is a vintage crystal domino sugar canisters nesting tins. They were colorful, they had masquerade masks on them, and they were from the 1990s. While we were cleaning out my mom's estate, I found these in the upstairs portion of our garage where my uncle kept all of his magazines and like collectibles. He had a whole bunch of tins. A lot of them, unfortunately, weren't covered or in boxes, so they just kind of, got rusty over the years. But these were in their original box, original bag, and they were in almost nearly perfect condition. They sold for $29.74, I believe, in one day of me listing them. And the sell-through rate on these are actually pretty good too, even pre-owned. So definitely keep your eye out for these in the thrift store, especially if you have all 3 canisters. Next up is a Princess House exclusive vintage garden green floral ceramic lotion dispenser. In the listing, I did say that you could use lotion or soap. This also sold very fast within a few days of me listing it. This was my mom, so it was another free to me item, and it sold for $10, and that was an offer the customer sent to me. Next up was another free to me item that also sold relatively fast. This was a vintage Avon Country Fresh Pie Pomander ceramic grandma lady incense burner with the original box. So it was this cute little grandma. She stood about this tall. She had an apple pie in her hand. And then the piece on the bottom actually came off and you would put little cones of incense in there and then you'd light it and then you'd put her back on the stand and the smoke from the incense would come out the apple pie because there was holes in it and it would make your house smell like whatever you wanted to. I did say that this was pre-owned, but I actually don't think it had ever been used. And the customer actually left me feedback saying that she thinks that this was brand new as well. So this sold for $15, and again, it sold very fast. Next up is a white seed bead thick braided statement necklace. I did use the keywords bridal, wedding, bride, and summer, and it sold for $7. Next up is an item that I've had in my inventory since 2019. It used to be new with tags, but I sent it to ThredUp. It sold as new with tags, but got returned not new with tags, and somehow one of these spaghetti straps got twisted. So once I got it back from ThredUp, I just had to list it as is. So it was a rose and olive striped accordion pleated adjustable strap tank top. It was a size medium and it sold for $6. I did lose money on this. I lost 61 cents, but considering I've had it since 2019, it's made a trip to and from ThredUp, to and from a customer, back to me. I would consider that a win, even if I lost money on it. Next up is a gold tone chevron diamond shaped stacked wide band statement ring. It was a size 8.25. This came out of my Shop Goodwill ring unboxing and it sold for $7.50. And the customer liked their ring so much that they came back and bought something else from me, which are a few sales down from this one, so I'll let you know. Next up was a Lafayette 148 wool blend leopard print 3/4 length sleeve blazer. It was a size 10. I think I purchased this at Salvation Army or Goodwill, something like that, but I've had it over a year and a half. I really thought it would sell quicker, maybe because of the 3/4 length sleeve. I'm not sure, but it did finally sell for $20. Definitely wanted it to sell for more, but I'm not in the business to store items. I'm in the business to sell them. Next up was a bundle of items that actually went to Italy. And this was interesting because the customer who was purchasing these items had just watched my jewelry unboxing, the most recent one, and they were asking if I still had this piece, if I still had this piece. And because I'm so behind in just listing in my inventory and just life in general, I hadn't even listed them, but I did start to organize them and start to clean the items right before she messaged me. So she purchased a sterling silver seashell pendant necklace and an antique 10 karat gold tuxedo stud. I could not identify what organization this was from. I don't remember exactly what the acronym was, LTPA, something like that. But there was a little diamond chip on the top of the tuxedo stud. The top where the diamond stud was tested as 10K, but the part that you screwed off underneath was just brass, I believe. And she purchased these together for $27. I really wish that I could have found more information on that tuxedo stud. I found similar ones, but I could not identify it. So if anyone knows what this symbol stands for or what organization this belongs to, please let me know in the comment. I spent a lot of time researching it and I just couldn't find anything. Next are Indianapolis 500 pins that I was talking about earlier. So this was a lot of 2 Indianapolis 500 Speedway lapel pins from 1985 and 2017. The 2017 one was still in its packaging, still had the official like hologram on it, and it sold within, I think, a day or two for $8.49, which was my full asking price. Next up is another free to me item. This belonged to my mom. It was a vintage Napco Wear C7494 green floppy hat lady head planter or vase with dangly pearl earrings and a pearl necklace. The bottom was stamped C7494. That's why I put that in the title. And it sold for $34. I think this took like a week or two to sell. I knew it would sell fast because if you just look at the sold comps on eBay, you'll see that several of these sell each and every day. So I knew it wouldn't take long. The customer did leave me feedback and said I did a great job packaging. She arrived safely and she loves her new vase. Next up is a Lancaster Retinology Total Age Solution High Efficiency Cream. These were tiny, tiny samples. They were only 0.1 fluid ounces. And to be honest with you, they kind of felt like nothing was inside of them. But there was, because I squeezed it and made sure that, something was coming out. But they were unused. I picked these up at a garage sale with a lot of a whole bunch of perfumes. And this is actually the last thing to sell from that. I paid a total of $15 for the entire box. So by the time this sold, I had already made my money back plus some. This actually went all the way to Canada. They paid $7.64 for the item, and then they paid $17 for shipping to Canada. Apparently, maybe it's not made anymore. I'm not exactly sure, but I hope that they enjoy the teeny tiny amount that are in the bottles. Next up is an antiqued gold tone large double rose flower hinge clamper bracelet. This sold for $8.50, and I did get feedback on this item as well, and she said clunky is how I like my jewelry. Next up is a new Free People exercise yoga kit. So this was a big fail. I will just completely admit that right now. It was a yoga block, a resistance band, a gym towel that was a color pink, and then there was also some like cleansing wipes or something like that. Like, after you work out and you need to, refresh yourself. So these sold altogether for $20. My cost of goods for the entire thing was $38.42. I purchased this from a pretty big reseller in the community. It was a fail. Honestly, I didn't really make much money off of the entire box. I probably maybe made even, but I did lose $21.92 on this. So, lesson learned. Next up is another Indy 500 pin to sell. This was Gordon Johncock, 1982 Indy 500 winner. This was the collector pin number 20, and he represented STP Oil. This sold in less than 12 hours for my full asking price of $19.99. I had a feeling that it would because there really wasn't a lot of merchandise or even pins from this particular driver on eBay, even sold. So very happy that that sold fast. Next up is a Gap 1969 sage green floral zipper leg skinny legging jeans. They were a size 31. These went all the way to Canada, so that was my third international sale in 2 weeks, and they sold for $16.14. Next up is a lot of 24 pendants and brooches. There were pins from Monet, there were natural stones, cloisonne, owls, angels, and I put, crafting or arts and crafts, and they sold for $13.59. I did put my cost of goods as zero because all of these items were just in my crafting bin that I was going to just throw in a big box and have someone purchase it later on. But these were all good enough to sell, maybe not by themselves, but in a lot, and I'm happy I did it that way. Next up is a St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital black and orange glass bead stretch bracelet. I thought maybe this person was getting ready for Halloween with the colors, and it sold for $8. Next up is a pair of Sam Edelman Halan black satin fringe frayed edge heels. They were a size 9.5. These came out of my last thredUP shoe rescue box, which I believe was late last year. And they sold for $25.49. Next up is a Talbot's anchor embossed button front denim jean pencil skirt. This was a size 2 petite, but I picked it up based off of the style. I love the anchor embossed buttons. It was in great condition. It was actually new without tags because it still had the little extra button packet on the inside of the care tag. So I knew it had never been washed before. And it sold for $17. I do try to pick up Talbots in larger sizes, like 10 and above. This was just too cute and in such good quality to pass up in the thrift store. And then the last sale was a lot of 25 mixed gold, silver, and copper tone bangle bracelets. These sold to the same lady who bought the chevron ring that I mentioned a few sales earlier. And these sold for $11, and that was just a few days after I had listed them. So of my 21 eBay sales, I had $318.68 in sales. I made a shipping profit of $54.92. Fees were $84.26, giving me a profit of $289.34. And my average sales price for each item that sold was $15.18. And I did forget to mention how much my average sales price on Poshmark was, and it was $15.38. So very similar to eBay. And now for my total sales numbers from August 16th through August 31st of 2024 on Poshmark, Mercari, and eBay. I had a total of 30 sales. I made $459.68 in sales, $56.59 in fees. My cost of goods was $102.11, giving me a total profit of $300.98. And my average cost of goods for each item that sold was $3.40. Well, that concludes this What Sold video for the last 2 weeks of August. I appreciate you tuning in and watching. I will say that September is not starting off great in my reselling business, but I hope it's going great in your reselling business. I hope that sales start to pick up even more for cozy fall time, spooky Halloween vibes, and back to school still. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye!